Welcome to the next screencast. So in this video, we'll be learning more about the entire interface of the DigitalOcean control panel. So first off, what you can do simply is when you first open your Droplet, you're greeted with this whole page. Over here you can power off your Droplet, although this is not recommended at all, even by DigitalOcean or by any service provider you could probably find, particularly because powering off could mean data loss. It is because basically your server is if your server is writing something onto the drive and you just click power off, it'll not be able to write that. However, this is in certain circumstances, this can be essential to use when suppose your server just stops responding or something like that, and or you need to take a snapshot and your server is not responding. And then the other option over here is the power cycle. This is as you can see, it's equivalent to hard resetting the server, which can cause data corruption. So which means that it's like going to cut the power and then put it on again, just kind of like a reboot, but it is very abrupt, so it might risk data corruption. What is recommended instead of this would be going into your terminal and just doing power off, so it'll turn that off. Just close that right there, and if you refresh over here, you'll probably see that it is turned off. Hold on a minute. Okay, 1 minute. Yeah, so a quick refresh and you'll be able to see that your Droplet is powered off by this and the fact that you can power it on now. So I'll power it on real quick, and that will do it real fast actually. Well, that was fast. Now we can reconnect. Right, so we'll just enter root and the password, which I just set in the previous session. Let me clear this. Okay, so the next thing is reboot. Instead of using the power cycle option, you can just reboot your server, which is pretty easy. You just type in reboot and your server will reboot. Now, one of the handy things to do when you're using PuTTY is wait for the server to reboot and then just right click right there and go on to new session or restart session, and it will restart the session, as in it'll reconnect to the server. Now my server is rebooting, so that's why it will be a little lousier here. Until then, we can do some other things over here. So over in access, you can have console access to your Droplet. I'm going to open that in a new tab and leave that for now. And we have reset root password. So in case you have lost your root password or something, you can just click this button and it will reset your root password. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so yeah, you can reset your root password. As for resizing your Droplet, you can change the amount of RAM and CPU on the Droplet. As you can see, we have rebooted over here. Anyways, you can change the amount of space. Actually, disk space is a bit of a problem right now, but you can change the amount of RAM and all of the other things on the Droplet, as in RAM and the amount of CPUs that you have. Over in snapshots, you can take a snapshot of your Droplet, and for future recovery. We'll be learning more about that in a further tutorial. And then over at settings, you can check for the public network, which is basically the IP address that you would use to connect to your server if you were to have a web server running on there. And we'll be learning how to set up a web server in another tutorial. Then the kernels are basically the things that the language, the software that the operating system runs on, which is normally Ubuntu or something. However, if you were to lose your data or something like that, you can use the DigitalOcean recovery kernel just in case. Okay, that's that. And in terms of recovery, if you were to wait a minute, let me just power off real quick again. Power off. Okay, so if you were to power off your Droplet, then you can just have a previous image of your server, and you'll be able to basically just get sort of recover your data from there. hold on a minute, I'll actually refresh my page right here, and over in settings, if you go in recovery at this point, there's nothing over here, but if I was to take an image of this droplet, and then there would be an option to do that. We'll be learning more about that in another tutorial. Now let's say I have put on some weird name. Maybe there's a spelling mistake in my name, although there is no spelling mistake in the server's name. It's tutorial, which is the correct spelling, by the way, if you didn't know. However, if I wanted to change the host name, I could just rename it from here, which is a fairly easy task. Now over in graphs is where all the good things happen. In here you can see the bandwidth usage of your server, and note that only the outbound bandwidth actually costs you, or rather gets counted as bandwidth. The inbound one does not. And then you can see the disk usage and CPU usage. Now this is a fairly new server. I only created this like a few minutes ago. Yeah, as you can see over here, 11 minutes ago. So yeah, and that is basically why my CPU usage is not available right now, although in a realistic circumstance it will be there. And then over on to the destroy, you can just destroy your droplet, and you can rebuild it with any image you want. So instead of destroying and then creating another droplet, you can just remount another image, or you can just rebuild from the original image, which was Ubuntu 14.04 x64, which stands for 64-bit. Although a 64-bit option is a terrible choice for a server that is running on 512 megabytes of RAM, because, well, 64-bit operating systems normally take up a lot of RAM. Well, anyways, in the next video we'll be learning how to install LAMP, and yeah, I'll see you there. Till then, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel.